teams of days gone by. The Browns of today will never say die. They'll win it with offense, they'll win it with D. And Super Bowl bound is what we will be.
Hi, I'm Mark.
And I'm Joey.
And we are the hosts of Next Year Is Now, a Cleveland Browns fan podcast. By fans, for fans.
Rally back and tie the game, and we're going to go to overtime. Listen to Cleveland Stadium.
Here come the Browns, the number one Browns, the pride of Cleveland, Cleveland Browns. Here come the Browns.
Next Year Is Now is brought to you by the Moorhead clan. Visit us at nextyearsnow.podbean.com. Feel free to leave your comments and ideas. We love to engage with fellow fans. Just remember to keep it respectful, as this is a family enterprise.
Welcome to our second consecutive Victory Week podcast.
You know, I heard that it's been like since 1949 that the Browns haven't won 3 consecutive games.
What?
Yeah, of course, the guy who said that could have just been like crazy or something.
You need to verify that stuff. There's no way. We've had winning streaks longer than 3, longer than 2. That's outrageous. There's no way. Since 1949? Impossible.
Unless I just have the date wrong.
It must be, because holy cow. That's not a good way to start the show. Mm-mm. You can't start a show with with a statement like that, and you don't have a source.
No, I don't. I'm trying to find that now.
Okay, well, in the meantime, let's get into the things that we actually have notes for and have some idea, so we're not sitting here like a couple of buffoons, like, what are you talking about right out of the gate? All right, Baker Mayfield gave Hugh Jackson the cold shoulder after the Bengals game this past week. The press has been all over this, okay? They've been all over it all week long. It's really a dead freaking horse, okay? Mm-hmm. I'm tired of hearing about it. It's ridiculous. He made a very common sense statement, and he's a very honest guy. He's going to tell you, if you ask him a question, he's going to answer your question. He's not going to spill the beans on every little detail of everything, because it's none of your business.
Right.
But if the press asks a question about how he feels, he's going to say how he feels. He has a right to say how he feels. He has a right to feel the way he does. So good for Baker. I'm ready to put that to bed as well. The team supports him. Cleveland supports him. The rest of the league is probably going to hate this guy. He's going to be that kind of guy. I don't care. He's ours. How about you?
Well, Hugh Jackson has refused to comment about it, but said through a source close to him that he has no idea why Baker feels the way he does.
Which typifies Hugh Jackson, a clueless individual who has no idea. He's probably sitting there thinking, those 2 wins that the Browns just got, that's exactly what would have happened if I was still the coach.
Yeah, probably.
We were just getting ready to start winning some games. And if they had just let me keep coaching, whatever. You had almost 40 tries. And you produced 3 total wins. Lame, buddy. Mm-hmm. Lame. Enough with the excuses. All right, we're going to get right into the good, the bad, and the ugly. We will just revisit that ridiculous statistic that you came up with there at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
We will have to look into that.
Seems like I can't find it. So, I mean, this guy clearly is not as much of a fan as we are. So.
Yeah, that's crazy. Any listeners out there, if you know what Joey is referencing, please feel free to tweet at us, because I would love to hear about that. That doesn't even make any sense. Having watched the Browns, go 12-4 in 1986, it is impossible to go 12-4.
Yes.
With only a 2-game winning streak as your best since 1949. It's mathematically impossible. You'd have to win at least 3 out of 4 games to do it. I could be. No, it's not possible.
Although I'm sure it still is some long time period since they have.
Yeah, if you check your history and see what you can find with your story, but you don't have to do that while we're on the show today. Let's jump into our good, bad, and the ugly segment here. So the good of this past game, it's a lot like the week before. Mm-hmm. Offense, defense, special teams.
There was a lot of swag with the team. So much fun. Like, especially when we had the pick. And then, I forget who it was, whoever picked it off.
Demarius Randall.
Randall steps off the sideline and hands the ball to Hugh Jackson. That was
such
legendary.
a roast, man.
That was.
And clueless Hugh.
He taps him on the head.
Thanks a lot, buddy. Yeah, buddy. Good job. No clue that he's getting completely roasted in the moment. But Peppers knew as he was watching Randall. And when Randall turned around, Peppers is like, yeah, man, it's awesome. Yeah. Unbelievable. That was beautiful. It really was.
There were a couple beautiful touchdowns. One by Njoku when he tried to jump over someone to get into the end zone and failed at that, and then was pushed into the end zone.
He believes he can fly.
Wow, off the ground. He didn't touch the ground.
I know. It was awesome. These guys are having fun. So much fun. The bad in this game, they let up in the second half.
Yeah.
Or it seemed like they did. I know Baker only attempted like a handful of passes in the whole second half.
And still threw for 4 touchdowns.
Yeah. I mean, that was all in the first half, of course. Or maybe he got one in the second half.
No, yeah, it was maybe.
But I'll tell you, we handled our business. You got the feeling that we could have scored at will if we had just wanted to keep going. I would like to see us do that. I think the Chiefs put up another 20 in the second half at least. We need to learn to do that. The ugly.
I can't think of any except for Hugh Jackson himself.
Right. I've got nothing. This is second week in the row. It's really hard to come up with anything ugly. This team is playing like a full team. They're having fun. They have an attitude.
Joseph is making all his extra points.
Can't complain about any of that stuff. There's just nothing truly ugly out there. Always things to work on, but nothing ugly. I loved it. Great game. Good job. Let's talk about our heroes of the week. I'm just going to get right in there and throw the Browns' whole offensive line in as my heroes, because what is that? Second game in a row, third game in a row, no sacks for Baker.
Yeah, that's great.
They're doing awesome.
Mm-hmm. Mine is Baker Mayfield. He is the Rookie of the Month, NFL's Rookie of the Month. Last week he had 19 for 26 completions. His percentage was 73%, 258 yards, and 4 throwing touchdowns.
Yeah, over the course of the last couple of weeks, last few weeks, the only player in the NFL that has a better quarterback rating is Drew Brees. And
Wow.
he's having a career year for a guy who's had a Hall of Fame career. So Baker's playing lights out, man. Mm-hmm. He is, oh my gosh. You forget he's a rookie. When you watch him, he just doesn't play like a rookie. He doesn't act like a rookie. There's nothing about him that says rookie at all.
It just turned on as soon as Hugh Jackson left. I feel like Hugh was just holding him back. And
it seems that way. We'll never know. Had Hugh stayed, would the light have gone on, and would we see the same improvement? We'll never know. My gut tells me, as I think yours does, based on what you're saying, this doesn't happen if Hugh was still here. He was just too bad for the team. Just bad. There's bad mojo, bad juju, whatever it is. All right. So those are our heroes of the week. Way to go, guys.
Dilly. Dilly, dilly.
Oh. Dilly, dilly. Gave you 1.5 dillies there. That was pretty good. All right. Our goats of the week. I'm just going out there with Hugh Jackson. I mean,
nothing more needs to be said.
Just keep piling on.
Yeah.
I hope, well, we'll have to revisit Hugh when we play the Bengals the last week of the year. And if Mike Brown. Hugh, actually, I know you listen to the show. We pulled for you, Hugh. We did. And I just want to take a moment here to say it's not your fault that you're not a good head coach. Some people have it and some people don't. It's like quarterback. You either have it or you don't. You don't have it. Now, the Cincinnati Bengals, there is a decent chance that they're going to, move on from Marvin Lewis, maybe give him a front office job, and that you were there in Cincinnati to take over as the head coach. As a Browns fan, I want to see that in the worst way, because I know that means some guaranteed wins a couple times a year. as a guy who's a little sympathetic to anybody else's team, especially Paul Brown's team, the Bengals. Don't take that job. Don't do that to them. Don't think that you are good enough to do this. You're not. You're just not.
But if
Be
you really
an
want
offensive
to.
coordinator. You're good at it. Just stick with that. That's all. You can go do that anywhere. You can stay in Cincy and do it. That's fine. Don't be their head coach. Don't be anybody's head coach. It's not for you. Do what you do, Hugh. Okay, Bugaboo? Yeah,
Okay.
right. Okay. My GOAT, Hugh Jackson.
My GOAT is the defense, but only for one reason. I am not dissing the defense. They had a great game, but I couldn't think of anything else. So I thought of the play when it was 4th and 1 in the first quarter for the Bengals, and they threw that pass to Joe Mixon. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It wasn't even that bad. But
Ouch. That's a rough way to earn a GOAT. All right. Well, those are our GOATs. Nobody really deserves the pit of misery. Hugh Jackson's already been in it for quite some time. I'm not going to pile on any further. We are going to, before we get to a preview of this week's game, we're going to talk a little bit about our head coach tracker. We know that Tony Grossi has done a couple of his, and that's fine. I also saw an interesting article, I think it was Sports Illustrated or something like that, on Bleacher Report that was talking about a lot of the candidates who are out there. So we've compiled our own little list, and the way we're going to do this is we're going to talk about the current or retired head coaches first as a group and rate them, and then we're going to do the same with the hot NFL assistants, and then we're going to do that with, the really popular college innovators, and then we'll talk about our own interim head coach. Then we're going to give you an overall top 3 where we think those things stand as of right now. Now, what we're doing isn't what we want, although we'll give you our arguments for why it would be good from our perspective or bad from our perspective. But we're going to do what we think the Browns will do with these groups of coaches. And we'll keep tabs on what the news is. I think it's going to be pretty tight-lipped coming with Dorsey the way he did with the draft. I don't think you're going to hear much. I think it's going to be all national speculation that we're going to be drawing on, local speculation, and that's fine. It'll still be fun. So let's get right into this. Starting with the group of current or retired head coaches, I'm breaking it down this way. Number 1 candidate would be Bruce Arians, followed by number 2, Mike McCarthy, and number 3, John Harbaugh. I don't think there's anybody else who's a current coach or a retired coach that is in the conversation. Those are the 3 names. I have them in that order. I think the Browns would consider Arians over McCarthy or Harbaugh for a couple reasons. One, continuity. If Arians comes in, he will keep Kitchens as his offensive coordinator, and he may very well, and he said he may very well, keep Greg Williams as his defensive coordinator. Whether Williams would be willing to stay, I don't know. Whether his contract guarantees that he would stay, I have no idea. Continuity. The second reason Arians would be at the top of that list there is because Arians allows John Dorsey to do one thing that I think most general managers don't get the chance to do. You often hear you get a chance to hire one head coach, and then that's it. If it works out, you're golden. If it doesn't work out,
you're done.
See ya out the door. Bruce Arians is a winner. This team's already poised to win. Arians knows how to win. He comes in and we automatically become a winner. So that gives you job security, John Dorsey. More than that, though, he's 66 years old, Bruce Arians is. He's not going to be coach for 10 years. He'll be coach maybe for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, 4.
And those will be winning seasons. But what does that allow John Dorsey to do?
Keep his job, and then once Arians is gone, get another head
Hire
coach.
another head coach. He can hire 2 head coaches. Forget putting all your money on one. What he can do is he can hire Arians, get the Browns winning consistently, and even, frankly, knocking on the door of Super Bowls, because Arians is a very, very good coach. He can get us with that winning mentality right away. And then he can, sorry, we had a little interruption to the show. Then once that mentality's there, that will have bought Dorsey even more time to stay on as general manager. So even if he fails at his next head coaching choice, he might still be around. I mean, Arians does that. There's no other candidate that does that for him. Okay? So I like Arians there. McCarthy is a natural connection because of the Green Bay front office we have. I mean, we're Green Bay East. We know that. These guys have been around and worked with McCarthy. They trust him. They know him. Maybe they see an Andy Reid situation where Reid got stale in Philadelphia and then moved on, went to Kansas City, and all of a sudden refreshed and new and brilliant again. John Harbaugh, only at the bottom of this list because I think he might actually keep his job. Believe that Lamar Jackson has got them winning 2 in a row now, and the Ravens are starting to feel their goodness. And starting to feel tough. It's
really great if Belidat plays against us when we play the Ravens because we are a turnover defense. So I think, as careless as he seems to be with the ball, I think that'll be good for us.
We'll see. We will see. I hope we're not eating crow. The guy's going to run like crazy. So anyway, those are the current retired head coaches. Your thoughts on those points?
Well, I think Bruce Arians, if you bring him in, it keeps the continuity. You keep Kitchens, possibly keep Williams. You've got nothing to lose there because by next season, we will have felt what it's like to pretty much be a winning team again. And so we'll still have that feeling with us over the offseason. And with Arians in, that's just like an extra boost for him. If we bring in McCarthy, that's fine as well because John Dorsey already knows him. But I think John Harbaugh, he doesn't really have any connections with the team like the other 2 candidates do.
Harbaugh does. He is a disciple of Andy Reid, who has connections with Dorsey and connections with the Green Bay guys because Andy Reid is from the Mike Holmgren system. Holmgren was the coach who had Brett Favre with Green Bay and won a Super Bowl and took them to 2 Super Bowls with the Green Bay Packers. So, yeah, they all know Harbaugh as well. He does have connections, and he's also a local guy who grew up a Browns fan right here. He doesn't even need connections. His resume is good enough. He's an excellent coach. Let's move on to hot NFL assistants. We've got Dave Taub at the top here, special teams coach for Kansas City. There's the Dorsey connection. John DeFilippo, offensive coordinator for the Vikings, was offensive coordinator here a couple years ago under Pettin, has worked with Carson Wentz, has been in the quarterback's coach for the Eagles under Peterson, which again has that Kansas City connection, has that Andy Reid connection, has that Green Bay connection, and knows all these guys. Then you have Dan Campbell, who is a tight ends coach for the Saints. Kind of a dark horse there because Dan Campbell, he's not one of the hot coordinators you're hearing about. He's just a tight ends coach, but I guess he is very well respected, very bright mind, supposedly just one of those guys that players want to run through the wall for. Sort of youngish, I would say early 40s. So for a head coach, that's sort of youngish. Then, of course, there's Josh McDaniels. I have McDaniels on this list only because he is a legitimate coaching candidate. He's always coveted by teams every offseason when they're looking for coaches. I don't trust him, though. I feel like he really wants to be the head coach of the Patriots, and he's just trying to wait for Belichick to move on. And I think Belichick keeps making him promises and then not moving on.
Yeah.
So McDaniels could be ready to jump ship, but the thing is, I think he's going to want to run things the way Belichick runs things, which is pretty much he runs everything. He's the man. He's got all the power. McDaniels can't have all the power. Dorsey chooses the players here. Right. Dorsey will be largely choosing this coach. He will not work for Dorsey. He will report to Haslam probably. They'll probably keep the same structure as my guess, but he'll essentially be Dorsey's guy. I don't see McDaniels as anybody's guy. Despite the fact he's a local kid, he's certainly a bright offensive mind, young. He has learned from the best for years now. And there used to be a knock on Belichick's assistant coaches that they couldn't go anywhere else and do well. Frankly, they have failed. Almost all of his assistants have gone elsewhere and failed. That's different than, say, Bill Walsh back in the 80s with the 49ers. All of his guys went places and did awesome, like Mike Holmgren, Denny Green, and then Mike Holmgren's guys, Andy Reid, Doug Peterson. These guys went out and did awesome. Mm-hmm. John Gruden, they all came from that same tree of Bill Walsh. Belichick hasn't done that. His guys have left him and failed. Except for the Houston Texans. Okay. Bill O'Brien, coach of the Houston Texans, is doing really well. I think Josh McDaniels will do well. I just don't think it's a good fit here. So I've got Taub at the top of the list. I think he's one of those guys who's due. Who do you like on that list?
I'm fine with Taub or DeFilippo. I don't really want Dan Campbell because, tight ends coach, even if he is that brilliant mind, I think if he really is all that, everyone's saying about him, I think he probably would have already had that chance to be a head coach.
He has interviewed. He was interviewed by the Colts last year, I believe. Didn't get the job, but he has been noticed by the league.
Yeah, but if you don't get the job, Hugh Jackson got the job for us, so.
That's true.
And I don't, like you said, I don't really want McDaniels either. So, yeah, I'm fine with Tubb or DeFilippo.
Yeah, I think Taub is, I think he's going to have an edge over DeFilippo just because of the connections, but we'll see. Then there's the college innovators. I've only got two there, really. It's just Matt Campbell from Iowa State and Lincoln Riley, obviously, from Oklahoma. I have them ranked in that order. I think Matt Campbell already has a relationship with John Dorsey from scouting. And Lincoln Riley, he's the hottest name there is in college football with his offensive mind, his obvious connection to Baker Mayfield. But I don't think Lincoln Riley's leaving Oklahoma to come coach in Cleveland. I don't see it.
No, and it's probably better if he doesn't because you said this before. If it's just a Mayfield and Riley show, then that's not good for the whole team. We need everyone to be involved like it was last week. That's a great example. But if Riley came, I feel like there would be too much between him and Mayfield.
Yeah, he'd be Mayfield's guy and not so much the Browns guy, And again, it gets me stumbling all over my words, but the fact is, you coach at Oklahoma. If you're leaving there, it better be the place you want to go.
Yeah.
And I don't know if, the Cleveland Browns, is there any real connection for Lincoln Riley there besides Baker? I don't think so.
Or could he just want to have credit for leading the Browns to winning?
Well, there's a possibility. That's something we'll find out. The last group of guys is just our interim head coach, Greg Williams. He's kind of the oddball here because, he's not a typical head coach that's out there right now. He's not an assistant that's been mentioned in a bunch of head coaching circles. Hey, this is the next guy. You got to get him as head coach. He's not one of those. He is a respected defensive coordinator, no question. People will want him if he's not with the Browns next year in some capacity. People will hire him somewhere to be their defensive coordinator. That's a guarantee. Obviously, he's not a college coach. So Greg Williams is his own thing. We dedicated some time last week to talking about what would it take for him to keep his job. Well, he is well on his way. Doing it again this week.
I think he has a very large chance of sealing the deal if he can beat Houston this week because...
Yeah, I don't think that seals the deal.
No, I think it definitely increases the chance. If you beat the Bengals again, compared to this game, I feel like this game is more important even though the Bengals are in our division.
I agree. What you're saying is he wins this week, it goes a long, long way toward sealing that deal. I agree. He wins this week, it's a game changer. This guy will have won 3 in a row. 3 out of 4, and that one was Kansas City. Give me a break.
Right.
And with 1 week of preparation as the new head coach, give me a break. Yeah, Greg Williams, he wins this week, and he is so legitimately in this conversation, it's not even funny. It'll be hard to get the fans to just simmer down because we will be getting pretty excited, and we'll think, oh my gosh, how could you move on from Greg Williams? Well, 3 losses in a row after this game would have you moving on from Greg Williams pretty quickly. So while this is a huge week, and we will be talking about that in a second, Greg Williams, boy, there's a lot on the line here for him. And I think these guys, if they play hard for him, that's a sign. And they have been. And I think they're loving it.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to mix all those together and give you our overall top 3. And we have an honorable mention as well this week. So we're really giving you a top 4. I'm saying that of all those guys, my gut is telling me that John Dorsey's list would look something like this right now. Dave Taub. I think that's just a personal thing. Knowing him so well from Kansas City, respecting him so much, feeling like he's one of those guys that really has deserved a chance to be a head coach for a long time. And Dorsey is in a position to make it happen. It's that kind of feeling I've got. And that's why I've got Taub at the top. No other reason. Just the fact that besides Dorsey, he is really well respected in the league. A lot of people feel like he has deserved a chance for a long time. And he's in his 50s. Okay. So he's not a young coach and he's not an old coach. He's one of those guys that hasn't had a chance yet.
Right.
Arians was like that, by the way, just so you know, when he got his first chance. Number 2 is Bruce Arians. For the reasons that I suggested, if John Dorsey has had the thoughts that I was mentioning, especially the idea that taking Arians gives you continuity, it helps you win instantly, and the fact that he's at the age he is means that you're probably going to get a chance to select a second head coach when this team is already up and running and we've got the veteran presence and everything's rolling. Arians gives you that chance to do that, and it buys you years of job security because you've been winning. Wow. What a huge thing. And I don't think there's any power struggles involved with Arians either, because he just wants to coach. He doesn't want to be the king of Cleveland. Right. So that's why he's there. And I almost have him at number 1, but I just think that Taub connection's huge. 3 would be Matt Campbell. I think Dorsey has to be looking really hard at that next great coach. Not somebody like Arians, who's been a really good coach, head coach of the year and stuff like that, awards. Not a guy who's a buddy like Dave Taub, but the hot young guy. The one that everybody knows in 10 years, we're going to be talking about as, man, if we had only taken a shot on him then. That guy. And that guy's Matt Campbell. So to be able to pluck him out and say, that was me. Mayfield was me. Campbell was me. That was all me.
Yeah.
Right? Mahomes was me. Dorsey can claim all that. That has to be very tempting. And finally, Greg Williams, honorable mention. He's on this list. He has to be on this list.
Yeah, he does.
He is front and center, right in Dorsey's face every week. He is getting the best job interview of all these guys. Greg Williams can do what none of these other guys I've mentioned can do. He actually gets to coach the team. He is being interviewed every moment of every day. And so far, gold stars, man, all over the place. What do you think about that list?
Well, I agree completely with that list, except for 1 and 2. I think Arians should be number 1 and Taub should be number 2, just because you keep continuity if you get Arians, and we know as Browns fans how important continuity is with all the different head coaches that we've had.
But this list is what I think Dorsey will do.
Yeah, I know.
Do you agree or disagree?
It's close. 1 and 2 for me. I'm not really sure what Dorsey would do. But
I am. Just kidding. Just totally kidding. No, you're right. We can't be sure. This is, in the end, a guess. So, yeah, I agree with you. If it was me, Arians is at the top of the list. If I was John Dorsey, I would have Arians would be my coach, like, today. Although I would be giving Greg Williams the rest of the season, to be honest. I want to see what Williams does. These guys play so hard
'cause
for him. I don't want
Arians
to change
isn't
that.
going anywhere, so.
Right. I don't know how Arians would work with all these guys. I have no idea. I do know how Greg Williams is, and that's big. So we'll see. We are going to move on to there's a game this week. We got to talk about it. Browns versus the Texans. And we will talk about it after we make our trifecta picks. And last week I went 1-2, bringing me to 21-13.
I went 2-1, bringing me to 19-15.
That one game difference was the Browns. You picked them to beat the Bengals, and I said I would not do that until they proved they could win a road game, and they did. They proved it. So, and they proved they could win 2 in a row. So, good to go. My sure thing this week is a very sure thing. The Packers at home over the Cardinals. Chalk it up. Done.
Yeah. My sure thing is the Chiefs over the Raiders. This is at Oakland, but, I mean, it's the Chiefs. It's not even...
It's the Raiders this year.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, that's a very sure thing. My underdog this week, I've got the Bucks at home over the Panthers. The Panthers should win this game, but the Bucks have a chance to win. These teams will score a lot of points. Somebody will come out the victor. It will be exciting. That tends to be how their games go.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I've got the Jaguars at home over the Colts. I think the Jaguars are definitely capable of winning this game. I don't see
Colts are mighty hot right now, but, well, you got to do your own homework, to be honest. Cody Kessler is starting for the Jags this week. Just FYI.
I'm fine with that because the Jags have a defense, so, I mean.
Okay. All right. It's an underdog pick. They are what they are. There's a reason they're underdogs. Yeah, the Jags need to step up and do something, but the Colts are mighty hot, so we'll see what happens. The Colts barely beat the Dolphins last week, so who knows? And that brings us to the Browns versus the Texans. Our offense against their defense.
Well, we talked about this earlier this week, and I do think our offense is definitely very closely compared to their defense, with Watt and Clowney. I think if our offense plays the way they have the past 2 weeks, I think our offense is over their defense.
Now here's the question. Will our offense play as well as we did the last 2 weeks against this defense? Because the defenses we faced, the Falcons and Bengals, were, ranked at the bottom of the league. Mm-hmm. You're talking about a top 10 defense here that puts a lot of pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah, but he likes pressure.
I agree. And Freddie Kitchens, I believe, will design an offense that is suited to help Baker get out of those pressure situations this week, whether it means rolling him out of the pocket, whether it means screens, quick slants, and quick throws, whatever it is, get the ball out of Baker's hands and, honestly, run the ball. These guys are going to be bringing heat constantly. Nothing better to do than run the ball and expose them.
I don't think that they'll be able to shut down Chubb like the Bengals did this week.
Right, and if they do focus on that, then that's fine. Then we'll beat them. Again, let's see more of that spread attack, 5 wide, and spread that field out for Baker. Let him more clearly see where the pressure is coming from. That's what that does for you. And then he's able to pick it apart. This guy can do it. Kitchens needs to help him do it with the right game plan. He seems like the right kind of guy to do that. He's creative, and he has done a good job the last 2 weeks of matching our offense up to what we're up against. So as far as me, I guess I think it's even. I would call it even. I think we probably have a top 15, 16, 17 offense. They have a top 10 defense. I like where we're headed, and I like our coordinator. And so I think we can match up with them. I'm not afraid of their defense. I just think it'll pose some problems. Pretty even. How about our defense against their offense?
Well, they do have a pretty good offense as well. And our defense is good. And I think this one is actually the flip of a coin. I would call this one pretty much even because, well, they've got some weapons on offense. And, yeah, their quarterback's no joke. I'm going to call this one even.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson, he's very much like Baker. He's a guy who doesn't believe in giving up. He has a will to win that is crazy. His team believes in him. He can beat you with his legs and his arm. He's dangerous. He's a guy of high character. Love Deshaun Watson. I'm glad we have Baker. I'm not regretting that we didn't take Deshaun. But Deshaun is a very similar kind of guy in terms of his will to win, his fire, his drive.
But you never know. Walking off the field at halftime, he might sprain his ankle or something.
Well,
like he did last season.
I don't wish anything bad on him, but
well, it's because he's on your
awesome
fantasy team. But
that's true.
I don't want anything bad to happen to him. But if something does, I'm just saying.
You wouldn't be opposed. DeAndre Hopkins at wide receiver, Lamar Miller at running back. Beyond that, they don't have a lot. Okay, their offensive line's average. No tight end to speak of that matters. The opposite wide receiver right now. They're talking about a guy, Demaryius Thomas, that they brought in from the Broncos. He's 30, 31 years old, still learning their system. Doesn't excite me, doesn't scare me. Our defense, Joe Schobert commanding things from the middle. We're pretty darn healthy. Demarius Randall's questionable this week, but almost certainly expected to play. I like our chances. Garrett is going to put pressure. Ogba, Ogunjobi. We've got a good defense, a really good defense. I feel like we can make some things happen. I think Ward, one thing Watson is susceptible to is fumbles, and he's susceptible to interceptions. And if there's a team that's good at getting fumbles and interceptions, it's the Browns.
But, that's kind of something I want to see a little bit more from. I want to see a little bit more from Garrett. He's always putting pressure on the quarterback, but I want to see some sacks.
Yeah, he's averaging almost 1 sack per game, which is fantastic. He has 10 for the year, and we've played 11. You do that every year, you're going to the Hall of Fame. So I don't know how much more he can give you, but I'd like to see a multiple sack game from him.
It doesn't feel like a lot every week.
I agree. It's weird.
Bit by bit, it just doesn't feel like a lot from him.
We need a big game out of Garrett. A monster game where it's kind of like, how we feel about J.J. Watt. I want to feel that way about Myles Garrett. I want other teams to feel that way about Myles Garrett. Like, shoot, we got to go against Garrett this week. I don't know if anybody feels that yet, or at least we're not hearing it. But I get what you're saying. He's quietly good, and I want to see him right in your face. All right, special teams. Okay, doesn't even matter. As long as we keep doing what we've been doing the last few weeks. That brings us to the pick. I am going to let you go first.
Okay. I've been thinking about this the whole episode. This one is tricky for me. Something we didn't mention is that the Texans have won 8 in a row, so they are due for a loss. And you said this earlier this week that this could be a gotcha game. They could think so lowly of us that we hit them in the mouth with a tough game, which I do think we will do. So I'm going to take the Browns over the Texans.
Those are good reasons. I like those reasons. I'm going to add another reason. The Browns are 4-6-1. That one, we know, was the first game of the season against the Steelers. Should have won that game. Right?
Yeah, we should have.
Should have. So let's turn that into a 5. 5-6. Forget the tie. Should have won the game. 5-6. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to the Raiders game. The Raiders game, we actually did win. The officials stole it from us. We actually won the game, remember? We were ready to kneel the ball down, and they reversed.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Instant
that was
replay,
that game.
They reversed. They stole the game from us. We actually did win that game.
Everyone knew that it was a first down.
So That's 6-5. Am I right? 6-5?
Yes. Yes.
No.
We went from 5-6 to 6-5.
4, 6-1, 5 and 6, 6-6. No, 6-5. 6-5. 6-5. And then, of course, there was the Buccaneers game. A missed field goal cost us the game. And I forgot the Saints game. A missed field goal cost us the game. We were in position to win those games, is all I'm saying. In position. All we have to do is finish that simple thing, right? This team is 7-4, 8-3. 8-3. What are the Texans?
8-3.
8-3. Now, in fairness, you don't always get all the breaks. Let's at least give us the Raider game. Legitimately, we should be 5-1. Legitimately. That game was absolutely stolen from us.
Yes, it was.
We are a 5-1 team, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Now, out of the other 3 games or 4 games that could have flipped, let's just give ourselves 2 out of the 4. 7-3-1. Or, if you prefer, 8-4.
Okay.
Nah, that doesn't work out. 7-4. Let's say 7-4. They're 8-3. We're 7-4. It's what I'm saying
We're
here
both
is
in the hunt here.
this team
we're in the
is
hunt.
not. They are not a 4-6-1 team. That's their record. But they have played much better than that. And we are playing better football right now than we were when we had those close games.
Yeah.
We're the best darn 4-6-1 football team in this league, and that includes the Packers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You put us up against the Packers right now, I'm confident we win.
Yeah, I
Because
think.
they don't have a defense.
No.
So I'm just saying, this team's not a 4-6-1 team, and if the Texans are looking at us as 4-6-1, because that's what the record says, and you can't get away from it, it is what it is, they must, in the back of their minds, I don't care how much tape they watch, I don't care how many times they're told by their coaches, you can't overlook the Browns. It's going to be in their mind. It's the Browns.
Mm-hmm.
They can't take us seriously. They're going to look at that 4-6-1 and say, yeah, I see on the tape and I hear my coaches, but they're still only 4-6-1. And they're in our house. No, they are ready for a gotcha game, like you said. And this team is really not a 4-6-1 team. We are a 7-4 or an 8-3 kind of team. We're there. So let's go. Let's bring this on. Let's do this. I think the Browns beat the Texans this week. Chalk it up. Any other thoughts?
No, I've got nothing.
All right. Well, we sure do love talking to you guys. We love talking about the Browns. We hope you feel like you are part of the conversation. Tweet at us at Mark C. Moorhead. Be part of the conversation.
If you enjoy the podcast, please consider leaving us a short review on iTunes. Those reviews are essential to the growth of our show and ensure that we will continue to provide you and many others with excellent content on a regular basis. Until next time, remember, there's no more waiting till next year. Next year's now. Go Browns.
Onward to victory. Here come the Browns. Here come the Browns. The #1 Browns. The pride of